In this lesson, we'll wrap up this course by learning how we can convert pixel-based artwork into vector artwork using Adobe Illustrator. All right, so if you want to open up the Lesson 10 Begin file, you'll be able to follow along with me. So this is actually a pixel-based or raster image that I drew in one of our Photoshop courses. Now, we started this course off learning the difference between vector artwork and pixel artwork, so I figured it was only a natural place to end it by showing you how we can take pixel-based artwork like this and change it over to vector artwork. So if we zoom in here on my artboard, you can see here, if I get in pretty close, you can actually see the pixels in this raster artwork. So there is a tool set that Illustrator has for converting this raster artwork, and it used to be referred to as live trace. Well, I'm actually in Illustrator CS6, and it's been renamed in Illustrator CS6. This feature is now referred to as image trace. So what we're going to want to do is we'll want to come up here to the window drop down, and let's go for this image trace panel right here. Okay, so I've got this panel open here, and you can see that all the options or controls inside this panel are currently grayed out. Well, that's because I don't have my raster object selected here. So let's go ahead and select the image that I've placed here inside this file, and you'll see that now that we have it selected, we have a lot of the options that are now available here to us. Let's go ahead and explore a few of these options here. So up here at the top, you can see there are several different preset buttons. If I were to mouse over one of these and read the tooltip that pops up, you can see that each one of these is going to have a very specific outcome for tracing this image. So you can see this one is an automatic color preset. This one right here is going to be a high color preset, low color. Then we have grayscale, black and white, and outline. So let's just go ahead and click on a few of these here and experiment with these. When I click on this option right here, you should see this preview box in the bottom left corner get checked. So this is previewing right on our artboard what this object is going to look like when converted to pixels. Now, if you ever want to bounce back and forth, you can always either uncheck this preview box, but it's much easier to just come up here and click on this little eyeball button right here. So if I click that, you can see here that a lot of these little highlights, shadows that are apparent on her face, they're getting lost with this auto color option. So this might not be the most accurate option to use if we were wanting to faithfully recreate this raster artwork in terms of vectors. So let's come over here and select this next one, this high color. Now you'll see some changes here that occurred. Again, we have a little bit more faithful recreation of the artwork. If I bounce back and forth, you can see a lot of those highlights are now represented in vectors. Now there's a few things to watch out for in terms of using a high color preset when you're tracing raster artwork like this. So kind of zooming in and looking, you'll start to notice that a lot of these shapes tend to look a little bit shaky and a little jagged. A lot of things that were not there when we look at the pixels. So if we were to just zoom out a little bit on this and come over and click on this low color preset, you'll see that there was a few changes here. We've got some problems around her lips. We've got some of that flesh color that's bleeding into that lip color. But you can also see here that our lines are starting to break some in certain areas. So when it comes to using these presets in the image trace dialog like this, you have a row of buttons up here you can experiment with. You can also come over here and you can look at these presets that are in this preset drop down. Let's go ahead and select this high fidelity photo. Now, if you're familiar with raster-based artwork, raster just simply means pixel-based. So we could, hypothetically, we could bring in a photograph that we shot with our digital camera and run this same image trace feature on it. So if we were wanting a faithful recreation of that high fidelity photo, we might choose this high fidelity photo preset here. If we come over here and we had a low fidelity photo, we can come in and select that one as well. Now, bouncing back and forth between the two of those, you can see here that the low fidelity photo is still capturing all the highlights and shadows that we want to capture, but my black lines are a little cleaner. They're a little more crisp. Let me show you again what that high fidelity photo looked like. You can see we just have a little bit more of this shaky feel to our line work. So I'm going to go ahead and select this low fidelity photo. You can see here that we can choose to view either the tracing result. We have some different options we can choose under view here. We have our color mode, or rather our mode option. So we can come in and either start with a preset, or we can completely configure this image trace panel to work the way we want it to. There are even some advanced options down here. Now we're not going to have time to check out all of these different options in this lesson, but one thing I do want to do is jump down here to the tracing method, and you can see here that we have an abutting method, or we have an overlapping method. So overlapping means that it's going to create shapes that overlap. Abutting, just like the icon here suggests, simply means that Illustrator is going to create holes in objects instead of overlapping them. So I'm going to switch over to the abutting method here, and one thing I do also want to do in creating a vector version of this is I want to choose to ignore the white areas so that Illustrator doesn't create shapes for these white areas of negative space around in here. So I'll just say ignore white. Now when we're ready to finalize this trace result, we're going to come up here and choose this expand option. And you can see as soon as I do that, the image trace dialog grays out, so we can close that. And we can also see all of the individual paths and anchor points that have been created. So if we jump over to the appearance panel, you'll see that the end result here is one big group. So if we come over and select that, let's ungroup it with a Control-Shift-G. And usually it'll leave you with some kind of an outline shape, something like that, that you can come in and delete. But now you can see we have individual shapes for each of these colored areas. You can see that a hole was left in this color where this color butts up into it. So we've effectively converted this pixel-based artwork into vectors using the image trace panel. All right, great. So this is going to bring us to the conclusion of this beginner's guide to vector drawing. Now from here, if you want to learn more about Illustrator and vector drawing, Digital Tutors has several different training courses that you could go through at this point. A good place to start would be our Introduction to Illustrator CS5 course. Here we'll fully explore Illustrator, learning about tools, workflows, and creative techniques along the way. After that, you can go through creating advanced shapes in Illustrator CS5. In this course, we'll learn about tools and techniques that are geared towards helping you create custom shapes quickly and efficiently. After that, feel free to jump into some more focused or advanced topics, such as creating an ornate logo type in Illustrator, or even understanding gradient meshes in Illustrator CS5. So if you've enjoyed this course and want to learn more, make sure and check out all the additional courses we have available at digitaltutors.com.